Most people only whisper about Area 51, its secrets, its shadows. The things that supposedly move in the desert when the world is asleep. But curiosity is a dangerous thing, especially when the government has spent decades hiding something behind fences, sensors, and silence. When three friends decided to explore the restricted zone under a moonless Nevada sky, they expected to find abandoned buildings or empty desert. Not the strange lights, unnatural sounds, and the feeling that something was watching them from just beyond the dark. They thought the rumors were exaggerated. They were wrong. It all began as a late-night dare, the type of reckless idea that only feels exciting when you reach far from home and the highway behind you is nothing but a fading line of headlights. The desert air was cold, still, and heavy, with a strange tension as the friends parked their truck miles outside the restricted boundary. The landscape stretched endlessly quiet, empty, and yet unsettlingly alive. They crawled past warning signs half buried in sand and followed the distant hum of machinery that shouldn't have existed this far from civilization. The deeper they ventured, the more wrong the air felt, as if the desert itself was holding its breath. And when the first flash of unexplainable light shimmered across the sky, they realized this wasn't a place meant for ordinary people. And some secrets aren't meant to be discovered. The desert air felt unnaturally still as Ryan, Mia, and Jordan parked their SUV beside the rusted chain-link fence that marked the outer limits of Area 51. They had spent months preparing for this moment, mapping satellite images, studying restricted zones, memorizing guard schedules rumored online. But nothing prepared them for how silent the Nevada desert became once the headlights clicked off. It was the kind of silence that made the hairs on your neck rise, as if the ground itself held its breath. The sun had just slipped behind the mountains, leaving a bruised purple sky overhead, and the faint hum of distant generators vibrated through the air like a living pulse from within the base. Ryan stared through the wire fence, squinting at the faint glow of lights far in the distance. "This is it," he whispered, though no one had asked. Mia took out her camera, her fingers trembling slightly, not from fear. She insisted, but adrenaline. Jordan, who always acted fearless, hesitated this time. "You know, if they catch us, it's over." "People disappear for less," he muttered, but even his voice betrayed curiosity. They slipped through a gap in the fence Ryan had cut earlier during a daytime scouting trip, and the moment their feet touched the restricted soil, an eerie sensation washed over them like stepping into a pocket of air heavier and colder than everything around it. As they hiked closer to the facility, they noticed the sand carried strange metallic glints, as if tiny particles reflected light that wasn't there. Mia bent down to examine a piece and immediately dropped it, shaking her hand as if shocked. "It's hot," she whispered. Ryan looked back toward the fence, suddenly unsure if crossing it had been a mistake, but curiosity pulled them forward. The deeper they walked, the brighter the glow from the facility became unnatural. Bluish, pulsing in rhythmic waves like the heartbeat of something not entirely human. The three explorers crouched behind a rocky outcrop as the first security patrol vehicle rolled by, its high-beam light slicing through the desert like blades. They held their breath until the engine faded into the distance. When Ryan finally stood, his legs felt stiff from fear. Ahead of them a wide basin, and at the center of it stood a large structure they had never seen on any map, cylindrical, metallic, humming with a low-frequency vibration that made their bones buzz. "This wasn't here last month," Mia whispered. She had been tracking every change on satellite images for weeks. Suddenly, a sharp streak of light shot across the sky, not like a shooting star, but like something controlled, deliberate. Ryan noticed shadows sliding across the surface of the building, shadows with no source. The air smelled faintly of burnt metal and ozone, and the desert sand beneath their shoes vibrated gently, responding to whatever machinery lay beneath. As they reached the base of the structure, they found a narrow maintenance hatch slightly ajar. Mia aimed her camera at it, the lens capturing faint flickers of blue light leaking from inside. "If this gets us killed," Jordan murmured, "I'm haunting you both." They pushed open the hatch and slipped inside. Instantly, they were hit with cold, sterile air that carried a faint humming sound, like machinery mixed with something almost biological. The corridor stretched ahead, lined with bright panels that looked grown rather than built, their surfaces smooth and slightly warm to the touch. Ryan leaned closer and realized the panels pulsed slowly, like breathing. "Chim, zabaz wantiche tfeltaliv." Deeper inside the hidden structure, alarms remained silent, but the atmosphere grew increasingly surreal. The hallway curved subtly, guiding them downward in a spiral that made them dizzy, as if physics bent differently here. They heard faint, clicking sounds echoing from ahead sharp, irregular, almost insect-like. Mia raised her camera, recording every step. The deeper they descended, the more the walls shifted color, glowing from cold blue to vibrant green in slow pulses. Then, they reached a large chamber that opened like the inside of a metallic cocoon. Floating in the center of the room was a large containment pod, transparent, filled with mist swirling like trapped clouds. Shapes moved inside it, not clearly human, not clearly anything they recognized. Ryan stepped closer and wiped the condensation from the pod's surface. The shape inside pressed back, a three-fingered hand slamming against the glass with startling force. Mia screamed, stumbling backward, but Jordan grabbed her arm before she fell. The hand dragged slowly down the inside of the glass, leaving behind streaks of a glowing substance that faded like embers. Suddenly, overhead lights shifted to a deep red. Panels in the walls folded open, revealing long mechanical limbs that extended outward, scanning the room with blinking sensors. Jordan grabbed Ryan's sleeve. "We need to go!" "Right now." But before they could turn, a doorway behind them sealed shut with a deafening clang. The pod cracked thin fractures, webbing across its surface like ice breaking on a lake. Their pulses pounded in sync with the chamber's rising vibration. Ryan grabbed Mia and Jordan. "Run the moment it breaks." But the pod didn't shatter. It opened deliberately, slowly, as if whatever was inside had been waiting for them. A tall figure stepped out, movement smooth yet unnatural, its skin pale with a faint iridescent sheen. Its eyes large, black, reflective, locked onto them, and then it spoke, but not in words. Their minds filled with a single message that made their blood run cold. "You were expected." Every mile between us and the facility brought a little more breath back into our lungs. Yet the memory of those lights, those impossible shapes remained, burned into our minds. I kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting that hovering shadow to follow. It never did. Maybe it didn't need to. Maybe, once you witness what isn't meant for human eyes, something in you is marked forever. By the time we reached the highway, dawn was breaking over the desert, but all it did was remind us how wrong the darkness behind us had been. We promised never to return, never to speak of it, except to each other. Yet even now, I can feel that same low vibration beneath my skin, like the desert still remembers us. Maybe Area 51 hides secrets. Or maybe the real secret is that some things choose you once you get too close. And they never really let go.